Welcome, guys, to Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. I am your host, Andy, joined always by my brother Dale, and today we're doing a bit of a special show. As you all know, that we are more of a show that deals with kind of old school wrestling. We like the old school stuff, but obviously we are fans and we still watch the new stuff as well. So obviously, as you know, CM Punk got his contract terminated by AEW yesterday, so we thought we'd pop on and do a bit of a live stream regarding that, didn't we, Dale?
Oh, without a doubt. I think the first thing that came up is we scratched our heads a little bit. And I think you sent me the message yesterday, and I had to double check. Not that I doubt you, but I had to double check exactly what was going on here. And I looked at it and I saw this statement, this bogus statement going on. And then later on in the day, you try to register it and you hear reactions, and it's really funny to what people talk about as far as um, like why is this happening, especially with the history and how their storylines are worse than what's actually going on in the back. So you figure, the more drama that's going on in the back is probably better for the company because it adds intrigue. But then, like, he got on stage yesterday and then took a microphone, how perplexed were you, Andy, when he said everything he did, Tony Khan?
So the biggest thing for me, mate, is I just want to start back at All In. So obviously I attended All In. It was a good show in terms of the wrestling. But one thing that I noticed with Tony that he done on there, which was kind of perplexing for me, was the fact that they, until you got up to Wembley Stadium and seen a screen, you wouldn't have known what event was on there. There was no kind of marketing, there was no placed of anything. It didn't have that big feel of something was, this was a big time event. They had a couple of merch stores. The merch wasn't very good. And what I'm trying to get at here is, for me personally, is kind of the business side of it. Like, I've been to WrestleMania, so I've seen the opposite. I've also been to Money in the Bank this year, which again, all I can say is Money in the Bank had a bigger feel to it from the outside, not the inside. By the way, I'm not saying that it wasn't once you got in the stadium and it was kind of the way they done it and stuff, but the outside and the way they had it for Money in the Bank was like you were kind of feeling like, whoa, I'm at an event here. You didn't get that feeling in AEW. Now I don't get why you wouldn't spend money on kind of doing any of this stuff, to make it feel like that and get people involved and have kind of things outside. They had a little event in Box Park, from what I believe, which, again, from what I heard, wasn't anything spectacular. But what I'm trying to get at is, I think for somebody who's a multi-billionaire, who's meant to be very business savvy, I don't think he is very business savvy. I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why. First of all is, obviously, as I said, they were all in. But also, if you're going to release CM Punk, yeah, why would you release the statement on the Saturday before you've got two shows in Chicago where CM Punk has got? Because them crowds are just going to give you hell, and for me, it's just not very clever to do that. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
I think that's a key point right there, and I agree with that. I think we're gonna just take a look at what that actual release is, and I actually want to share that with you. So I'm going to read this out loud. Statement from All Elite Wrestling and Tony Khan. I'm surprised he puts himself on there too, but
Yeah, because I thought he was All Elite Wrestling.
that's weird. Well, when you read that headline, it makes you scratch your head, but then he'll get to that. He'll get to why he puts himself in there as somebody with a legal advisor would tell him to do. All Elite Wrestling has terminated the wrestler and employment agreements between Phillip Brooks, CM Punk, and AEW with cause effective immediately. The termination was confirmed today by Tony Khan, CEO, General Manager, and Head of Creative, AEW. The termination follows a week-long internal investigation of an incident occurring backstage at AEW. All In on Sunday, August 27th. Following the investigation, the AEW Discipline Committee met and later convened with outside legal counsel before making a unanimous recommendation to Khan that CM Punk be terminated with cause. I want to stop right there for a second before I read on the Tony Khan phrase there. The internal investigation does not include any names on there, or this council that we talk about, the outside council that we talk about. I know that Brett Aubrey is one. And I'm not joking either on that one. I wish I was, but this is just the case there. It's a, no pun intended, or a bit of irony, I should say. It's a cult of personality there. You do not follow the rules that these people live by, then you are out. Obviously, this is they call him a cancer. It's the cancer grows within that nucleus there. But I digress from that. What I want to point out with that whole thing is that we never heard of an explanation of what the findings were for the first investigation from a year ago, which was the best thing that happened in wrestling in that company, I should say. We never got any type of nobody told us anything as far as why belts were being stripped from not only him but also Omega and the Bucks from that championship that they wrote for themselves. So we don't know what this council does. We don't, you don't need to disclose everything. Although you're in the corporate world, the board of directors are disclosed. You'll see that Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon are board BOD of their company. But it's funny because when I read something like that, it just, that they're doing this to cover their own ass. This is what they're writing on there. And I just thought it was interesting how you said it first. Isn't Tony Khan AEW? He stopped in and says, Khan offered the following statements. Phil played an important role within AEW, and I thank him for his contributions. The termination of his AEW contracts with cause is ultimately my decision and mine alone. Why do you have a council? Of course, I wish I didn't, which unanimously voted, by the way. Of course, I wish I didn't have to share this news, which may come as a disappointment to many of our fans. Nevertheless, I am making the decision in the best interest of many amazing people who make AEW possible every week, our talent, staff, venue operators, and many others whose efforts are unsung but essential to bringing our fans great shows on television and at arenas and stadiums throughout the world. Thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, well, I don't get the problem you've got is it's hard when you don't know what has actually happened, and I think this is the problem that you've got is like for me personally, some of the stuff I've heard that happens it was down to Jungle Boy going on about this is real glass and all the rest of it, which is stupid. Now if that's the case for me personally, it's like, well, CM Punk's got a right to be like that. He's a veteran. He might not always articulate himself in the right way, but if Tony actually listened to him and got on board, maybe this wouldn't have happened because, WWE don't have blood, or they very rarely have blood. They're all there to make sure that the talent's okay and everything else. And I just don't like this macho bullshit that goes on in AEW too much. Tony needs to realise he's a big or he's becoming a big company. He's doing well. No matter what anyone says, he's just pretty much sold out Wembley. He's done really well, but at the same time, he's got to leg that up a little bit now, and he's going into All In. He had some injuries with Bryan Danielson, a couple of others, and it's like, okay, but that's probably a lot of it's down to the talent just going all out. Bunch. But, you've got to set perimeters, and the fact that the talent are being the ones able to set the parameters in terms of we're going to use real glass, we're going to do this. No. That should not be happening in a company of that size. In my work, as you know, I manage a lot of staff. My staff started coming to me and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'd be like, you're not. You know what I mean? It's a discussion between the two of us, and we need to make sure what's the best for business, to quote Triple H. But it's right, you've got to do what's best for business. And no one's going to turn around to me and tell me that this is just what's going to happen and that's it. Well, no, that's not what's just going to happen. It needs to be a discussion. But it seems like in AEW, the talents are the ones calling the shots. Even CM Punk to a degree was calling the shots. Now, I don't care if he's a star or he's not. Hogan never called the shots. I mean, we did in WCW, which was totally the wrong move. And, we learn history to learn from history. But for whatever reason, is he was calling the shots there as well, and that's not a dig on Punk because obviously there's other people doing that in AEW. Ultimately, the guy who should be calling the shots fully is Tony Khan.
He claimed to call the shots here, which is kind of. It's not. It's not. And I said it before. It's nepotism. His friends, they're the ones chirping in his ears. He made a statement. He came out in front of the crowd yesterday to egregious boos, which he should have, because where are they located for yesterday's collision, which was Punk's show, by the way. I never bought that. I never believed in that. Could you imagine hiring somebody and then be like, all right, you know what, let's keep everything separate, which didn't make sense because then Punk ended up being on a Dynamite one episode. So it's like, well, we're blurring lines here. Whatever. It's another thing. It's a reason why I'm not really too keen on.
Just to quote my friend Simon, make it make sense. That's all Si ever says is make it make sense, and he's 100% right in what he says all the time with it.
Yep, exactly. It should make sense, but it doesn't in this particular case, because now you said it before. Jack Perry did something with glass, and it was for his safety. That's the difference. That's what people don't realize. Yeah, you could actually, you know how you do that with bottles, dude? You bake it and put it in cold water gently. That's it. And they're very, very delicate at that point. You crash them over heads. That's what it is. When I went to film, I did this. I learned this in college when I was trying to go for film, like how you do special effects in cheesy ways, but it works. But there's still risk to it. And if this is some guy's show, he'll find a better way to help you out with this. He'll find a way to be safe and make it look the same. It's just man children that aren't trained properly too.
Yeah. It was even Cody, let's look at Cody. Cody's probably a good thing to bring in here. There's a couple of things with points with Cody. His first one being, do you remember when he set himself on fire in AEW? Do you ever think for a million years that would have happened in WWE? No, he would not have been allowed to do that. And the thing with Cody is Cody was always trying to set the stories. He was trying to use formulas and whatever else. And I think he realised in AEW towards the end, like, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the way it was going. And I think that's why in the end he stepped away from it.
Well, if they're going to set him on fire, it wouldn't be using brandy. What I don't understand from this whole statement, though, is that when he said that it was his choice alone, it wasn't. We all know you're lying. Like, he wants to claim he has ultimate say. I guarantee you that he does not. If he had ultimate say, he wouldn't have that match that came out where Omega and the Bucks, when they returned after their suspension, they reenacted that fight in a very cute tap on the shoulder way, like, hey, see what we're doing here? We're mocking the guy that we don't want here. And same thing with Adam Page, same things with all their friends, dude. Look, I'm not a huge fan of those guys. I'm actually more of a fan of Omega now since I've seen him in person and watch him wrestle. Yeah. The problem is that these guys are morons, dude. What EVP doesn't want to make money?
That's it.
Can you answer me that, Andy? If your company, you don't get along with somebody, let's say hypothetically at your company, you don't get along with them, but you guys are making money. Don't you realize you're doing what's best for the company and you will benefit? You could act greedy at that point, but you will act. It'll be on your best behalf at that point. So you're going to shake hands and make up and, do whatever you can. You don't have to hang out with them outside of work, but in work, you're doing business. That's what it's called. Yeah. It's funny because it almost mimics the sentiment of, fragile egos throughout the world right now. I just don't understand how people can go through work and be like, oh, I need a safe space or whatever. I don't know. But then again, Tony came on air, or right before they came on air, said how he has gone to events and he did not feel safe here. What a crock of shit, dude.
I know.
Oh, wait, you know what? It's not a crock of shit, and I'll tell you why. Because you and I, we pay for our tickets. You sat right where Mail-In Mox walked through, right? Like he was right in front of you doing his terrible, walking wrestling that he does. Anyway, he couldn't be a stand-in for Roadhouse. Regardless, you mean to tell me that this guy was actually sitting where we would sit for a show without his career? Tony was in a skybox. He was behind the scenes, whatever, because he could afford it. So yeah, of course he's going to be close to wrestlers when he's running a show. Oh, it's almost got into a fight. Oh, I got to watch out for that haymaker. Come on, dude, liar.
It's just disgusting me. I mean, the thing is as well. So like, we're again talking about business decisions and how they run it. Is like when they done that Stadium Stampede match. I watched it back on Thursday night. The show, not just that particular match. It was on terrestrial TV, believe it or not, which is why AEW turn around and say that in the UK they're blasting all records. Well, at the end of the day, you will be when you're on a free TV show, because WWE's on a television channel that you have to pay £25 a month for over here. But the AEW's on free to air that anybody with a TV can turn it on and watch it. So anyway, I was watching that and I got to the Stadium Stampede match, and there was a bit where Claudio and Eddie Kingston were wrestling up in the stands. And the whole stands were full, mate. There was stands quite full everywhere. And they decided to go and fight in one of the boxes that was empty. To the point where Shivani turned around and said, "The fans have realised what's going on and moved out the way." And it was like, why would you go up there? No, I mean, if you want to go up there and fight because it's empty and pull it out to the full thing, that's fine. But it's like, don't then turn around and make a point of saying something about it. It was just like, Jesus Christ.
Nah, you got to cover it up, right? I mean, the announcers are embarrassing to begin with, though.
So JR still makes me laugh. Yeah, when do you know the trios match with the Golden Elite and the other lads and the Bullet Club Gold, and he turns around and goes, "It's the Golden Elite versus the Bullet Club Gold. Why is there so much gold in this match?" Right?
He was spot on throughout the whole.
Yeah,
his verbal eye rolls, man.
Oh mate, that match particular though was like, why is everything just bloody gold in this match, right? And then there was another bit where they're all brawling and that, and he just goes, "So tags don't mean anything in this match, But even from that point of view, yeah, again about control of your business and control of your employees, like, could you imagine him saying stuff like that in WWE and getting away with it?
Because he didn't need to.
Or, let's take it away, because I know people get very shirty over the whole AEW thing. If you were watching Monday Night Football, yeah, right, and it was two teams versus each other, and one of them turned around and the commentator was saying, "Well, this is a crap game," or something like that, would they get away with that?
They have. It doesn't happen often, but I mean, there was like a 9-3 football game a couple weeks. Every Thursday night game last year was dog shit, and it was funny because it was Amazon Prime had the rights to doing Thursday night football. Yeah. It was so bad, and it was like an ongoing joke. Like they put on it could be two of the worst teams, and the schedule is determined in the beginning of the season, but on Thursday night games it really wasn't highlighted as great teams, but people are going to watch because it's football. It is the most, right now, I would say it's the most popular game or sport in America. But yeah, like JR's given up. But that, like you said, that's part of the quality control of AEW. And that's what they need to go on. And you need to, how do I put this? It needs to be thorough throughout. Okay. Like, it needs to be where everybody has to fall in line with this. So is Jack Perry still? Why isn't Jack Perry fired?
This is it.
It's part of the incident.
Yeah, this is another thing, mate. Is like keyword continuity. So if this is a turning point for Tony Khan, and now he's sacked Punk because he wasn't happy with what he'd done, etc., and then he's going to start doing it to everyone, fine. But this is where now for me it's make or break for Tony. It's either get a grip of everyone or don't, because you can't really do it where you can just do it to one person and then that's the end of that.
And one thing for sure that this is, just speculation on here too. When you're in the back and there's that, because it's all fucking whisper campaigns over there saying you shouldn't like him, you shouldn't like them. You mean to tell me they didn't pull over guys from like the Dark Order and be like, here, just just start provoking or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me, you mean to tell me that if you were a boss of a company and somebody that still produces for you is a little bit of a hothead, you gets that reputation, right? Hey, they're sitting there going, I'm almost done. As a boss, wouldn't you say, nobody fucking start with him?
Yeah.
That's something that it has to be said. Like, if he did not say that, it's like I said, it's still nepotism. It's still favoring your friends, or the people that started the company with you, and I understand you have sore spots for these people. Then again, you brought it up before. Cody knew where he was, and he's like, I got to get the hell out of here. Look at what he's at now. He might not be having a belt, but he's having a damn good run.
He doesn't need the belt, does he? It's the whole top and bottom of it.
No, I don't see him as an attraction just yet, but still, he's somebody that he's going to he's putting on the best matches of his career right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's also look at one other thing here. Yeah, let's look at one other thing here. So tonight, they're in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
For this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at this embarrassment. All right, so we got John Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. Okay. Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho. Luchasaurus versus Darby Allin. Sounds like a good Dynamite, right? Mix in with some Rampage there.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? With these lot, they do these matches so even on normal telly that it just becomes where the pay-per-views don't mean anything. But I'll admit, I think they put everything into last week, and I think that's what's killed it. It's too near to each other, far too near.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have and then you have the world champion who's the best in-ring performer that the company has right now that's active, with Adam Cole, and they're facing the Dark Order. That's your world champion.
I know,
world
but I like
champion
that. I like that though, because I like that story. To be honest, I will defend that because I like the story of Adam Cole and MJF. I'm liking that. It's probably the one good thing they've got on the like I've been following the story all the way through, and I've really liked it.
All right, you and I haven't talked about that, but that could work. That could work well with a lot of other people on the card. Not your world champion, who is the best heel in the business.
Is he a heel though anymore?
Not anymore, because they fucked that up.
I don't know. I don't think they had a I think he is literally organically turning face. I don't think they've had a choice. Because maybe if you see the way people just went nuts for him and that, it's like, and even though he's still like, there's even things like he turned around and cheated on something, and the whole crowd like cheered at him, and he was like, you could see him going, oh, sorry, like that, and it's turning into, I don't think you can. Even if you wanted to keep him heel, you could.
Got a question. When he faked getting hit with the chair last week, right? Or Cole faked getting hit with the chair last week, did he think he was going to win the belt?
No.
This company is so stupid. Their referees are so stupid. And here's one other... It's just... Quality control. That's what it is. It's got to be consistent. And this was a guy that had his own show. That first Collision was excellent. Then you had the tag team matches afterwards. We didn't need like 6-man and 8-man tags. I thought the next week was going to be a 12-man tag. But like you don't need that. You had a guy there with a good mind and was working with people like Hobbs, like Miro, Andrade, who I think he just signed again. And then you even had guys like Buddy Matthews, who you take him away from the Ghoul Gang over there. You were having a good program that was Punk's show. Might not have been a show, but he oversaw it. How are you filling that void, Andy?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know, mate. I think they need to get a champion on there somehow. A world champion on there. If you're gonna keep that split up, but if not, you've just got to make it another show, haven't you? You know what I mean? Keep putting like a continuation of Dynamite. But the whole point in it, I'll admit, I like Collision. I thought Collision was much better than Dynamite.
Yep. Yeah. Now who's going to write that?
Well,
he's not going to the vets. He's not going to go to guys that are there that are like managing. Like, you mean to tell me Arn Anderson doesn't have anything to say? I spoke with him. He said everybody needs to slow down. He said to me, he's like, these people they sell nothing.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? And then you've got Big Show there. You know, there's people there who know the business, mate.
Mizark.
Billy Gunn.
Yeah, he's all right. He's according to Road Dogg, he's messing with the office supplies.
But you know, they've all got experience, mate. They've got a Sting. Friggin' hell, mate. You've got somebody there who's probably forgot more last week than we'll ever know.
Yeah.
Or that Tony Khan will ever know, you know. So I think there's a lot like there. But right, let's wrap this up then, my brother. But last thing, Tony Khan or CM Punk, who's in the right and who's in the wrong here?
Gotta be Punk. I'm going with it. Like, he's not a business owner, but here's somebody that you gave the ball to run with, and he was doing that, and you had the best programming available. You just have to keep in line. You have to have disciplinary actions. He wasn't somebody that was above it, so you deal with that, and you did that. You just need an explanation for it, though, and you can't have everybody just running around frolicking. You have to be on level playing grounds here, dude.
Yeah.
If I do insider trading and you do insider trading, if you were still here in the United States, you and I would serve the same time. Kind of.
Do you know what? My thing is, I don't think Punk's totally in the right. I don't think he's totally in the wrong either. I feel like the events have caused what's caused it. But I feel like it could have been dealt with a lot better. But at the same time, I feel like Punk's not communicated himself as well as what he should have either. So I feel like there's a multi-thing to this, do you know what I mean? Where I think Tony is probably the biggest one to blame, but, you know, at the same time, it's like, if Punk wasn't happy there, he should have just left.
You want to run a company, you have to act like you run a company, and you have to surround yourself with people that know how to run companies.
Yeah. Now, also, last question, maybe before we finish. Do you see Punk ever going back to WWE now?
Jesse Ventura did. Bret Hart did. Bruno did. Hogan did.
Don't forget as well, he's also got a good relationship with Endeavor, hasn't he?
I don't know if that's the case, though. I mean, maybe if he was calling, he might call a fight or two. I could see that. Yeah, but what's he going to do? Him against Roman would be fun.
Yeah,
fun.
It would. I don't know. Right, guys, let us know in the comments.
Could you imagine Punk and Heyman on the mic against each other again?
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
Yep.
Right, guys, let us know in the comments what you think. You know, who's in the wrong here, who's in the right here. It was just a dead interesting subject to me, and Dale just wanted to give it a little bit of airtime and have a chat about it. But we will be back in the week with our normal programming. But until then, bye-bye.